Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to Blade Bias. It is a new year, and I think you guys know what that means. The ever anticipated entire collection video, which I don't know when this is coming out because my upload schedule is extraordinarily compact right now. I picked the right time to come back from break, I guess. But apologies that this took so long. I was hoping to have it out in January. Hopefully, it is out in January, but we'll see. Pull up a chair, get some water, prepare to listen to me yap for way too long, because it's time to go through my enormous Balisong collection, my disgustingly large Balisong collection. And I don't even mean that to flex, I just mean like this is more than I ever imagined I would ever have. I started this hobby thinking that I would have, gosh, maybe 5 or 10. Whew. And now we have this. Thankfully, it's much more organized than it was last year. You remember last year I had a ton of different little cases and bags and stuff sitting around. I think we have everything compact into two cases today. A case that I told myself I would never fill up to. And here we are less than a year after I bought it. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. Thank you all for the support. Thank you all for the position you allowed me to be in to have all of these. It's insane. And let's go through my collection heading into 2025. Because, man, I'm going to try and keep this brief. Sorry if I yap your ear off, but I think that's also what people like about these videos, considering that they are some of the more popular videos on my channel. Look at this. It is basically full. I bought this thing and I was only able to fill it up maybe 5 rows, and there were like 2 rows left. I understand I could take out places here and here. And then down here is like accessory stuff that I don't have stored in there right now. But here's the case. I'm trying to figure out what direction we want to go in. I'm going to leave this case over here till later, and you guys will understand why. Let's just go bottom to top here. Let's start off with the Frank P. You've got to be franking me. I can't believe we're starting off with the Frank P. This is a phenomenal little plastic Balisong from LDY. LDY had an amazing year last year. The Frank P is no exception. It kind of does everything that I wish the Squiddy did. Oh, you know what? Hold on. Disclaimer. There is a very, very large chance that I am missing Balisongs. That I'm missing like 1 or 2 Balisongs. They're probably like they're things that you guys wouldn't even recognize. Like the really crappy Amazon comb that I have that looks like a Nautilus. Like that's obviously not here. So there might be 1 or 2 things that are missing, but this is everything that I am aware of that I can realize that I have off the top of my head. So anyway, the Frank P does everything that I wish the Squiddy did. It's able to fan, it's light, it's cheap, it feels good. I don't know how durable it is, and I certainly have a few issues, most notably with these little inserts that kind of come out over time, but nothing too crazy, and I think the thing genuinely flips really, really well for a plastic Balisong at around the price point of the Squiddy OG, especially considering this thing can fan while the Squiddy can't. It's a solid little Balisong, and I really enjoy it. You know what? We're just going to put this case aside for now. We're going to put this over here, and we're going to start just laying them out. This is going to be fun to clean up. Next up, the Bali Fleur. Yet another Balisong. Sorry, I thought I heard someone like knocking or something. Yet another cheap plastic Balisong that flips really well. I mean, it's really light, it's really hollow, it's really rattly. You certainly aren't buying this because it's like cream of the crop quality, which, I mean, you can't really expect 3D printed Balisongs to be anyway. But the balance really surprised me. It's very kind of like the Kuno. It's very floaty, very light. It feels neutral enough. There's a lot of tip weight. I genuinely do enjoy the way that this thing flips. Even if it's not like, I don't think it's the most, durable plastic Balisong out there. It really does feel like a few drops of concrete would break it. I don't know if that's actually true or not. It just feels very hollow, but it flips really, really well. I really like the way that it's balanced. It's just genuinely fun to flip. We'll do the Squiddies really quickly. The Squiddies, I like the squiddies, especially the kind of mold mates to the squiddy B, the squiddy A, the squiddy U, stuff like that. Even the squiddy WH. I like them, but they just kind of feel left in the past for me. They're really solid. They feel dense. They feel good to flip. They feel durable, and they are durable, especially for a plastic balisong. But they just, I don't know, maybe it's because it's my first balisong. It just feels so, 4 or 5 years ago. It doesn't feel like they're up to the times. Granted, the squiddy A is probably my favorite of all of them, and they are genuinely good plastic balisongs. But nowadays, I would really just kind of rather go for any of the other plastic stuff on the market. And that is true not only for the squiddy A, but for the squiddy U. This one is customized by my friends, which is super, super sick. We got Marty on one side, Dex on the other. This one feels a little more sandpapery than the squiddy A. Definitely better grip. But yeah, I just struggle to kind of flip these things for some reason. I think I do just have to get used to them, because there was a point where I went back to my squiddy B and I said, holy cow, I really like this. Like, it flips really, really well. Unfortunately, not really the case anymore. They're solid flippers. I enjoy them for what they are, but I don't really need to own, 4 squiddies. My OG squiddy B, my first balisong that I ever got. I think it's because this is the first balisong that I ever flipped. This just feels better to flip than the rest of them. Kind of like the Arctic felt for a while. It feels like home. It's the thing that I learned so many of those foundational tricks on, that it just kind of feels good to come back to. Even if it hasn't held up the best, it's held up incredibly well for a plastic balisong. Sure, some of the weights are kind of rusted. The screws aren't looking great. I got some TI replacement screws that have completely faded at this point. They used to be like a light teal. They're now basically silver. But for everything that I just said about the squiddy B line, they do hold up remarkably well. I do like them. I just do prefer what other plastic makers have done in the space recently compared to what Squid has. The OG Squiddy, by far my least favorite plastic balisong, maybe even balisong that I own in my collection. Not because it's bad, just because it can't fan, and I like to fan. I like to do things that require a little bit, actually a lot more blade bias than this thing is really capable of producing. Fans, choker fans, there's just nothing to them. It doesn't want to keep the momentum. It can't choker fan. I don't like it. Now, the reason I keep this thing around is because it is my beautifully customized OG Squiddy, hand painted like a Pokeball that reveals a Gyarados, which is just really, really cool. I love it so much. And this customization has allowed me to keep this thing in my collection far longer than an OG Squiddy really would have ever stayed in my collection before. The Flip Forge Edit Light, at one point my favorite plastic balisong, and still one that really surprises me when I pick it up. Nice and neutral. The only big complaint I have about it is the 3D print feels a little bit hollow, especially compared to what Flip Forge has done now with the palette. But it also just kind of feels, it's big. It's really big. It's chunky. It's tree trunky. It doesn't choker fan very well. And while I still do love it, I definitely prefer what Flip Forge has done for us in recent years with the palette. In recent year with the palette, which is currently, I believe, my favorite plastic balisong. But the Edit Light, super, super fun balisong, especially for the price that he had them at, which now, again, has been replaced by the palette at that price point. But yeah, I love the Edit Light. It was a real big shock when I got it, how much I enjoyed it, because I didn't have too many expectations for it. And also, with the Edit Light, Ty was actually mine's missing a pivot or a screw, which is really fun. I have no idea where or when that flew out, but it did. Thankfully, it still flips, so we'll see how long that lasts. But this thing is sick. It's customized. It was one of the first, I think this was like a test or something of both the dual tone blade and this carbon fiber plating that Flip Forge did. I don't think it was the first, but I do think I got this before it was commercially available on his customizer, which was super cool. And the mint that he does was a color that I really, really liked. I lost yet another screw, and that's my biggest problem. Thankfully, I can see it right here. It's my biggest problem with the edit is that the screws come out so easily. And that really only is a problem since I changed the blade. The blade, I think, is a little thicker than my old one used to be. Regardless, very cool Balisong. The customizability was really cool to see when this thing came out, and I love, love, love the color. But I'm going to put this thing down before I drop the screw and lose it forever to the vicious carpet. Let's just throw that over there. The pallets. Now, truth be told, I haven't flipped these things enough recently to really tell you the difference between them, so I'm just going to flip my heavily customized one. Not even heavily customized. You yourself could make this exact thing using FlipForge's website, but he and I worked together to kind of create a Dex profile, or a Dex color scheme, which was super, super cool. It was really cool to see all the customization things he was working on for the palette. And the palette is just incredible, especially for the price that you get it at. The balance is really, really good thanks to those metal plates in both the blade and in the channel. By the way, if I say something about a Balisong and you're like, ooh, that looks cool, go check out any other video that I've done, because all of these Balisongs should have videos on this channel. Go check them out, where you'll get far more info than I can cover here with all of these Balisongs. But the palette, super, super sick. The customization's insane. He's thinned it out so much compared to the tree trunk that the Edit and the Edit Lite used to be. It can actually choker fan now. It chaplains really well. It is by far one of my, I shouldn't say by far, it is one of my favorite plastic Balisongs. It's really, really solid. I just really vibe with the way it flips. Durability can be kind of hit or miss on these. My handle cracked when I was at the bite handle rave, but this one was also at the bite handle rave and didn't break once. So your mileage may vary, but these are both phenomenal Balisongs for the price, for the customization that you can do with them. They are awesome. This was actually the first Balisong that I was ever sent for the purpose of making a video about. The Zippy Cycloid. This was a huge step in my journey back then. I was so excited, not to get something for free, but to be able to work with a maker who was doing such cool things within the space, and who continues to. Zippy has come such a long way from the Cycloid V1 and the Zipper V1 and all of that. He's come so far from them. And, you know, looking back, it's a really, as much as I enjoy the Cycloid, flipping it nowadays makes me realize, yeah, this is an old product, but it really goes to show how far not only Zippy, but plastic Balisongs in general have come, especially in a video where I kind of predicted that there would be a huge storm of plastic Balisongs, especially 3D printed Balisongs, on the horizon. And while I don't think it came true to the level that I predicted in that video, we have certainly seen a renaissance of 3D printed Balisongs since the Cycloid came out. And this always just kind of remains a special place in my heart, especially being able to do, because not only was this the first time that I received a Balisong for free, but Zippy actually sent me it early, told me to keep it under wraps so that I could have a video for it on launch day. So like working with a maker to be a part of a launch for something like this was super, super cool. Sometimes I wish I had suggested him a color scheme. I think it was like silver, blue, and teal or something like that. Silver, gray, and teal. And he actually made it into a color scheme. I wish I would have gotten one, but I don't really have a use for any other Cycloids. Maybe I'll look for one if someone still has one, but yeah. And speaking of how far Zippy's come, the new Cycloids, like, just look at, I'm not going to talk about this one too much because everything I have to say about this kind of applies to this. This is just thinner. It's made out of plastic. This is much more dense and has much more handle weight. My biggest problem with this is that the plastic handles have virtually no weight to them. All of the weight is in the weights and the blade. But look at how far the Cycloid has come, dude. It's gone from this, I think this is PLA, don't quote me on that, with like a single disc back here and a single disc for weights up here. And it has gone to this glass infused nylon, I believe, with these incredible toolless spacers that I have praised so much in the past. Multiple weights, hugely customizable balance profile. It's a similar Balisong. Like, the idea is still there. In fact, I think the pattern is not the same. That would have been cool if it was like a callback to that, but it's still similar at the very least. But it's just come so far. Cycloid HD being one of my favorite plastic Balisongs, not for flipping, because I think there are a few things that I have issues with the flipping. Most notably, the chaplains aren't the stickiest thing in the world, but you can customize the balance however you want. So if you want a balance that is better for chaplains, you can do that. I just don't do that because then it would kind of ruin the fanning. But the premium feel, the incredible engineering that goes into this is really what makes it one of my favorite Balisongs. Plastic Balisong, sorry. Because I can give up sticky chaplains if it means that I get to change my spacer's weight system without using any screws, without fussing around with any of that stuff. And it's easy, and it's cool, and it's customizable, and it's really, like, I genuinely consider the Cycloid HD the peak of 3D printed Balisong engineering, because it's just so cool. Another early plastic Balisong, the Tay Flipper. I purchased this one from Ted Flips, I believe, right after my first Blade show. In fact, I guess I purchased it before, but it arrived right after my first Blade show. This thing is awesome. I love it. It's great. The calico nowadays is definitely something that I enjoy more. And I wish it would have continued. I guess that's all I can really say about that. But it is, yeah, it's a cool Balisong. Tay, of course, not active at all in the Balisong scene anymore. It's been a while since we've heard from him. I think people are still waiting on orders from him, which is really crazy. I have to say here, as sad as it is to say, maybe don't order from Tay right now until we can get on a more consistent release schedule, because you might be waiting for a while. But the original Tay Flipper, one of my favorite early 3D printed Balisongs. The balance is great. Just the feel of it is pretty great. It's balanced well. Yeah, and it brings me back to a simpler, more nostalgic time. You know, recording videos with Ty, especially the Tay Flipper review that he specifically did. I helped him with some of the camera work on that. Just a good time, man. That was a fun time for Balisongs for me. Calico 1.5 prototype, this is the Calico. No, sorry, that was the Calico. This is, oh my gosh. Oh, the BB Barfly syndrome in me is sleeping out to other brands. That was the Tay Flipper. This is the original Calico, far more handle bias than the current one, which is, I believe, the Calico 1.5, but something that I really enjoy. I like the colors. This is actually this is the Calico from the original announcement post, because this was another Balisong that I received. I got to test it like way before anyone knew about it, because I met up with Tay. And then he, made one for me and Ty. Got to work with him on that. That was really cool. Although I guess I guess it was Ty that did the kind of like promo launch video for the Calico. I don't remember, because I remember Ty did that. Maybe that was the sponsor announcement post? I don't remember. All I remember is that when we got the Calico, it was me, Ty, and Tay. We all met up, and he dropped these off for us, and it was super cool. Really solid Balisong. One of the best sounding plastic Balisongs of the time. Even untuned and unlubed, it's still pretty bouncy. It's not going to sound as good, obviously. But the Calico 1.5 really brought it to the next level for me. Mine personally is cracked, so it's not going to sound or feel as good as one that you could get nowadays. You can see the crack in the pivot there. But this thing is awesome. It takes away some of that end handle weight from the original Calico and kind of makes it a more neutral, less crazy handle biased experience. And it just feels incredible. This was, for a while, my favorite plastic Balisong. Actually, No, I guess it wasn't, because this came out around the time of the Edit Lite. Gosh, I'm getting the timeline so mixed up in my head. Ooh boy, there it goes. I guess I should have maybe like researched the timeline of some of these releases a little bit more. But this thing, really solid. It changed far more than I expected it would. Because when Tay released the 1.5, I was like, I'll skip out on it for now. Until he sent me one, and I was like, oh, he actually changed quite a bit. That's awesome. The Chroma V2, V2.5, one of those. I think the CV2. This thing's solid. I really like it. I actually prefer it to the V3 that would eventually come out from Chroma, because it's a very smooth feeling plastic. It feels quality. It feels dense. It's got a balance kind of similar to the OG Tay Flipper, which I really enjoy. And we've got these kind of channels that you can customize. Not something you can get anymore, but Chroma is actually an EU-based balisong maker. So if you're in the EU looking for someone who maybe won't charge you crazy shipping prices like most American, like shipping a balisong from America would, go check him out. And we will talk about the V3. Unfortunately, my V3 is still broken. I have not fixed it. The initial one that he sent me was missing a weight in one handle, so it kind of messed up the review schedule, but it allowed me to do a giveaway for that orange one that I did a while back. Solid flipper, not my favorite thing in the world. I think it would obviously be much better if I actually fixed it, but I just have never gotten around to it. It's a solid flipper. It looks really cool. I don't like this thin blade. I do like the kind of carbon composite looking pattern he was able to get here, but I do think the proportions of this thing is off. The blade is very thin. The handles are very thick and chunky. It fans well because the weight is in that one blade, but if I try it, the weight is in the one handle. Oh my God. But if I try and do anything else, it just kind of fails because that weight is missing. So unfortunate, but the Chroma V3 is great. Like I said, check out Chroma if you're looking for those EU-based shipping prices. Next up, we're getting into metal. This is, let me see if I can remember. This is the Knives Matter Tech Noir, I believe. A balisong. It was on Amazon for a while, but it has no pivots. The pivots are under the G10 because I have another one, it's buried somewhere, that he sent to me without the scales. And the pivots are under the handles, or under the scales. It's interesting. Not a huge fan of it, to be completely honest with you. Like, it feels good for what they were selling it for like, I believe it was like $50. It genuinely does feel good in the hand. The flipping experience is a little not great. We're going to get to a lot of balisongs that have, or we're going to get to a few balisongs, I should say, that have this kind of filled in blade material, and it just makes it feel very sluggish. This thing doesn't fan very well. I think there's just too much blade weight, not enough handle weight. But a very interesting one that never really took off, because Knives Matter was someone who did more CSGO replicas, the big, heavy, curved balisongs. So this was his first, I want to say, foray into doing a more conventional balisong. But I think there were a few things that he needed to refine with it before it truly became something crazy. But I have to admit, the bricks are there. The foundation is there. I don't know. The stars are aligning for this to be a solid enough release if he fixes a few things. And similarly, let's just get this one out of the way now. The Akuma Matata. A balisong I've actually been trying to sell for a little bit, which I need to try and get back on posting it again. But this is not my favorite balisong in the world. 70-75, really solid. It feels good in the hands. Ultimately, it's very slippery. It's another one of those balisongs that has that filled-in blade, so the balance just kind of feels off. It feels better to me now than it did back in the day, but it still just kind of feels, especially in fans, a little bit sluggish. I think there is someone out there that would really, really love this. I think there is someone out there that would love this. But my biggest objective complaint about this thing is the tune and the screws. The screws are almost impossible to tighten without your screwdriver slipping because of how shallow they are. And the tune is just, you either tighten it to, the bushings are undersized. I mean, that's just as much as you can say. If you can finally get the screws to not slip enough to get it tightened down, then there might be a little bit of bind, or if it's too loose, there might be a little bit of tap, which is on this one, so I need to tune this up a little bit better. This one, there's a very small sweet spot where you can get no tap and no bind, but just another disappointment for me, and not one that I really enjoy, although I have been enjoying it more lately. I don't know, something about getting rid of Balisongs just makes you feel differently about them for some reason. I don't know, man. Next up, this is a really cool one. This is the oddly designed Osprey, a design that I was following since I joined the Balisong hobby pretty much. And so to see him not only release it, but send one to me because he wanted me to give my opinion on it, was super, super cool. A very Prisma-esque blade, but one that was designed long before the Prisma ever existed, so I give him a pass on that. And these really, really cool... Actually, I give him a pass on that. It's not a Prisma blade. People just say it looks like a Prisma blade, even though it was designed long before. And it's not the same hole cutouts, but this thing is super sick. I don't know if you can get them anymore. I don't know how available they are. I haven't seen a post from Oddly Designed in quite a while. So, I don't know. Check out his Instagram maybe if you're interested in seeing if this is still around. But the angled handles are super cool. I love the look of angled handles, even if they kind of mess with your choker fans a little bit. And the thing flips genuinely good. I would describe it as a Vulp if the Vulp didn't have the issues with Chaplins. It kind of feels like very similar to the Vulp, but it doesn't have a problem with Chaplins, so I like it much more. But a very unique piece in my collection, one that I really, really enjoy. Squid Industries time, the Kraken Trainer V3. This was a handle swap that I got from Ted because I believe he wanted a teal and gold. So he said, hey, do you want the leftovers? And I was like, sure. He was like, do you want silver and gold or do you want another blue and gold? I was like, you know what? Let's do silver and gold, which kind of inadvertently became the color scheme for the Bally Awards. This is kind of like my Bally Awards Kraken. I've got the zippy insert with the tip, with the ball at the tip. Just makes it feel a little bit more balanced. The original Kraken Trainer, while an amazing Balisong, was something that had a lot of handle weight to it. This new blade for the V3 kind of helped with that, but this insert really makes it feel a lot more to the balance that I particularly enjoy. Fans are amazing. Choker fans are good. It's just consistent. I've talked at length in the past about how consistent the Kraken feels. Every time I pick it up, specifically the Kraken Trainer, I'm able to do what I want, when I want, which, even if it has a slightly boring balance to me, is something that I really, really welcome in my collection, especially with so many unique things that I have in my collection. This is, yeah, it's really solid. It feels amazing. It's got that squid quality to it, and I really enjoy it. The other Squid Industries thing in my collection is Albert, the Squiddy AL. One of my favorite public flipping Balisongs, even if I don't really flip in public anymore. It's solid. The balance is a little weird. Sometimes I'll pick it up and it will be like incredible. And other times I'll pick it up and I will just be completely unable to flip it. Right now it's kind of feeling like the unable to flip it time. It's an all aluminum design. It's pinsless. It's Squid's take on a cheap swordfish essentially. But honestly, it's really, really nice. They don't have their garbage bead blast that I despise. They have this really nice machine finish with like this awesome kind of surface texturing reminiscent of the Squid Trainer. And how could you say no to that Albert face? I really like this thing. It's on washers only, and it has a tune which I don't think you would immediately be able to tell is washer only. Now, granted, when you beat it a lot, that tune is going to deteriorate significantly. But mine is still like almost bushing tune level, which is incredible for washers. My biggest complaint is mainly that I just can't oil it because the oil turns black and goes everywhere. But you got cool eye weights. It's a really solid public flipper. Brandon brought this thing to New Zealand. Yeah. I like it. I like the Squiddy Owl. It's a fun little guy. Glider. I'm not going to flip this thing too much because I don't want to damage it too much, because this is, I believe, literally like the last green glider, green Arctic the glider ever sent out, because they sent me replacement scales because mine were so beat up. So this is the original, my original glider blade, because I wanted to keep the spirit of my original glider alive, or my original Arctic alive. This is what happens when you record for this long. You start mixing things up. So this is the glider Arctic. This is my original Arctic blade, because I wanted to keep the spirit of my original Arctic alive. But I needed to replace those scales because they were getting so dented that they were starting to like bind, because the spacing between the scales was starting to get affected. While I think that the Arctic is... Did I ever do the Arctic in 2025 video? Maybe I did. I don't actually remember if I uploaded that or not, which would be crazy because I just cleared out the storage of my camera for this video. So, whoopsies. But the Arctic is one of those Balisongs that at the time was incredible. The fit and finish, the comfort, the bushing system was amazing. But nowadays, it's just outclassed by pretty much everything else in its price range. Because it is kind of big, it's kind of chunky, the blade's a little short, it's handle biased. The glider will always be, the glider. The Arctic will always be a Balisong that I come back to for nostalgia reasons. I mean, it's the literal logo of this channel. I just can't hate it. I know people hate it. I know people are like, oh, it's garbage. I'm not going to say that it's garbage, but I'm also not going to say it's the greatest thing ever. I just have a huge nostalgia for this thing, and it just feels like home every time I come home to flip it. This abomination is my old glider scales. I saw someone selling a glider blade, an Arctic blade. This is my old Arctic. These are my old Arctic scales. I saw someone selling a polished Arctic blade, and I was like, hey, I've got these old scales lying around. Let's get it and put them on there so I can have like a really, really beater Arctic. Turns out it was a little more modified than I thought, because they also like they also wore this down. They wore the tang out. So it slaps, it taps, it doesn't go together basically at all. This is like my most pyro, my DJI-less pyro Balisong, because it's beat to crap. It rattles everywhere. You can't get a good tune out of it, which actually most of Pyro's Balisongs still tune up relatively well, so it's not even that. As I flip it, this screw is going to come out, and these handles are going to come apart. You can actually see it already happening. It's a monstrosity, but it flips so well for some reason. Like, it flips better than most of the other Arctics that I've tried. I don't know why. It just feels better, even though it feels worse. And this, my second Arctic that I got, this was the Arctic that I wanted before the green one. The green one I got because it was I don't know, did I say this already? Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. The Arctic was my first ever metal Balisong, and the smile that I had when I opened up this original green one, you couldn't have kicked it off my face. It was so incredible flipping a Squiddy Bee for a few months like I had been, and going to like a truly premium metal Balisong. It felt incredible. I loved it so much. But that was because they did a drop. I had found the Arctic maybe a week before, and I got so lucky with it because they did a drop a week later. Problem was, I was in the car driving when it happened, and when I got home, the only one they had left was pink, black, and green. And I was like, I've got green. I've explained this in my year anniversary. I think it was because I had a friend who liked green or something like that. I was like, oh, maybe I'll get it as a gift eventually, because I wanted this one. This was the Arctic that I wanted. So I got this one in the next drop that they did, which happened to be around Christmas, or more towards Christmas at least. And this was supposed to be kind of like my safe Arctic, and this one was supposed to be my beater Arctic. Unfortunately, green kind of became like my channel, like kind of associated with me. I love green now. And all of my love for green is because of that green Arctic and because of what it has meant for my channel. So Unfortunately, I kind of wish I beat this one. This one's kind of beat up now, so it kind of is my beater now if I want to flip an Arctic, but I so rarely ever pull out the Arctic to actually flip. Let's do a Nibali's extravaganza, shall we? This entire row. This is kind of getting more towards where I have things organized by maker. That's kind of how I try to organize this case specifically. And you could see, like, we went Squid Industries and then Glider. This whole row right here is all Nibali's. So let's get that. Let's get this thing out of the way, the extrusion. This is the upgraded version with massively increased grip in the surface texturing. Flips amazing, feels awful. I hate it. It feels like sandpaper. It feels gross. It feels dirty. This is one of the worst Balisong finishes I've ever touched, and I have touched Squid Trainers at Blade Show, which if you've ever done that, you know how awful those things feel. This feels like that all the time. And so I really never touch it, even though, like I said, the balance is actually pretty good, especially for how much the extrusion costs. This is an all-aluminum Balisong, similar to the Squiddy AL. It does what I want it to whenever I flip it. Like, it chaplains great. It even double scissors great. Aerial's great. Fan's great. But, man, that finish is awful. And unfortunately, the other extrusion that I used to have, the purple one, a friend is borrowing it from me right now, so that won't be in this video. But I have a purple one of these that doesn't have that awful finish. It just doesn't flip as good. I don't know. I don't know what they did to this one specifically, but the purple one just doesn't feel as good. A Balisong that does feel as good, the Canyon. Really, 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 really solid Balisong. I've seen some people kind of like... I've seen a bigger wave of people kind of dismissing the Canyon whenever someone mentions it to a beginner, which I think is crazy because this is a $40 Balisong that something like this never existed back in the day. So to see this quality exist at this price, I think is insane. Chinese Balisongs at that price have definitely spoiled people. And that's something that I'll be talking about, or that we talked about either in the podcast that already came out or that will be coming out shortly. Yeah, it's interesting. The Canyon, I'm not going to say it's perfect. It's all stainless steel. It's heavy. It doesn't really flip like normal Balisongs would. But it's still great for that price. It's insane for that price. I love it for that price. The Balisong that really started the cheap budget renaissance that we are in right now, the Volp. It has its issues. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't chaplain well. It doesn't have the greatest grip. But this thing is historic for the reason that it basically made all these Chinese manufacturers realize that there was a huge, huge market for cheap, well-made aluminum bushing Balisongs. Because the Volp was one of the first. Like, before the Volp, you could not get something sub $100 that had these specs, that was aluminum with bushings and all of that. You could, but it would have been like a clone or something from a clone company. Thing that comes to mind is something like the Falcon or the Alien from the One, which were their original designs, but it was still from a clone company. So people would be like, it's kind of morally gray. If you're against clones, you don't really want to give money to the clone company, even if the design that they're doing is an original design. And the Volp changed all that. It gave people an option to buy something from a semi, at the time, Nibali's was kind of unknown, or a little more unknown than, they had made like the Morse. They had made the Morse. What did they no, I guess it was the Morse that inspired Will and Brandon to say, hey, you could make some improvements to this and it would be amazing, which turned into the Volp. But Nibali's was unknown back then, and the Volp put them on the map, and now they're a hugely respected maker. It's really awesome. I would be interested to see, I'm not going to credit Will and Brandon with, what Nibali's has become, because I'm sure they would have stumbled their way into finding something good eventually, because the Morse was already really solid base. But I think the Volp really accelerated that. I'd be very interested to see an alternate history where they didn't make the Volp, and then see where they are at this point. But either way, it changed the game. Once the Volp came out, there was an explosion of those kind of original cheaper Balisongs on Amazon. Granted, they were from companies that to this day we could still speculate were part of clone companies. You had things like the Comet, the Adax from like Onal, and I don't even remember their names at this point. Whether they're clone companies or not can be speculated all day, but Nibali's really brought them onto the map. And the Teflon Vulp is the upgrade that the Vulp really needed. It's got mine decked out with the Pride stickers that have caused more controversy than anything else on this channel, which I think is the funniest thing in the world. And they say that the only change that they made was the Teflon. And a lot of people don't believe them because it genuinely flips much better than the original Vulp. I still wouldn't pick this over a few other of their options, notably the one that we'll get to next, the cheese. But it genuinely just kind of feels better. I think the Teflon Vulp is pretty solid. The tuning improvement that they were able to do on this was incredible. Mine, unfortunately, is loose and dry, so it's not going to sound or feel as good as this thing did out of the box, but still an extraordinarily solid Balisong, especially considering how much improvement came from them just upgrading the coating on it. Also, in the same kind of vein, the Teflon cheese. Now, it's not called the Teflon cheese, but the cheese uses that kind of same Teflon coating in a design that I think flips excellently. This is one of my favorite starter Balisongs. This is the kind of Balisong I would have killed for to start on back in the day because it was only like $10 more expensive than the Squiddy Bee that I started with. It does everything you want it to do. I kind of call it the Kraken trainer of the budget market because while it doesn't have the most exciting balance in the world, it does what you want when you want to do it. It's very consistent, and some people are really looking for that. So it's a Balisong that I really enjoy, and it's a Balisong that I think really secured Nibali's place as like a really, really super solid option for newer flippers. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say that. I guess the Canyon was technically what did that. The Hydra, one of Nibali's earlier designs, and at one point one of their most expensive designs. This was their kind of premium option before the Wing, before the Vault Pro, stuff like that. Really solid Balisong. This is yet another Balisong I would describe as kind of like a Kraken trainer. Not the most exciting balance, but extraordinarily consistent. Feels good in the hands. And also, I believe, was kind of the community's introduction to like mass-produced false live blades. I'd have to remember or look up what the first false live blade was, but the Hydra is one of the first that comes to mind. And now we live in a world where false live blades are everywhere. So that's pretty cool. I like the Hydra. This is another Balisong that I was trying to sell for a little bit, and I'll probably start posting it again, but extraordinarily solid. Good feeling texturing, good grip. It doesn't have garbage bead blast. It's very nice satin, kind of like the Kraken trainer. I like it. The Nibali's Wing. Probably one of my favorite Balisongs from Nibali's is the Wing. It's got a beautiful blade profile. It's got these awesome handles, which can be a little rough on grip sometimes, but they're slightly rounded, so fanning and choker fanning feels amazing. The balance is great. Yet another false live blade, but it also does come available in a trainer. Kind of uncomfortable on the chaplains, but nothing too bad. And a really... See, this is what I was afraid of. Oh, well. A really, really solid performer from Nibali's. Currently, their most expensive. Actually, never mind. The False Live Blade Vault Pro, I guess, would be the most expensive. So, formerly their most expensive design, but a really, really solid one. I love the Wing. And I also love the Vault Pro, similarly to the Wing. These two are Balisongs that it kind of depends on what your preferences are. One of them is kind of round. One of them is kind of blocky. One of them has G10. One of them doesn't. It really depends on your preferences. But I would really put these things, if I were to look at them more objectively, directly on par with each other. I think they are fantastic. I think they're amazing. The Vault Pro is... The glow up from the original Vault to the Vault Pro is undeniable. The thing flips amazing. It has good grip. All of the problems of the Vault are gone here. And man, just that kind of Cygnus-inspired wraparound G10 with like G10 inlaid into the aluminum. It's so good. To have a design kind of similar to the Cygnus, but mass-produced like this is so awesome. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Next up, the newest Balisong that we'll be talking about, the new Thomas Balisong trainer. I'm not going to say too much here because my video is upcoming, but the new Bead Blast is really not doing it for me. I really don't like Bead Blast. It's a finish that I really try and avoid. It ruins the grip for me. It ruins the feel for me. Thankfully, like I said in the Bicol video, it's not as... actually, by the time this comes out, the Bicol update video might be out. We'll see. Check my channel. I don't know. But yeah, it feels overall a little bit better than the original Bicol because of the changes he made to the jimping. Not to the jimping, to the chamfering. But that Bead Blast really does... it doesn't kill it for me, but it definitely hampers it more than it otherwise would have. The original Bicol is something that I enjoy quite a bit, though, because it doesn't have that bead blasted finish. And while some of the corners and cutouts are very sharp, overall, really, really solid flipper. For the price, it does have a few issues, most notably the lack of end weight in the handles, but I really like it. And this blade design is really awesome. I love truly unique blade shapes like this, and the Bicol is no exception. It's really awesome. Next up is a weird one, the Hognose from the unfortunately now no longer in the Balisong business Fellowship Blades. This was a weird one. Not enough handle weight, a little bit too much blade weight. It's a cool design, but it also kind of gets thicker. It's a hognose because of the snake. Kind of looks like a snake at the front here. So it's like he's got a rat in his belly or something. This thing really wasn't one of my favorites. I would maybe like to track down one of the newer ones, which puts pivots in the end of the handles, which I think would fix a lot of the issues that I had with the hognose. And it is a very fun-looking Balisong. I like the look of it a lot, actually, which is crazy because I initially said that I really didn't like the look of it. But yeah, it just... I think there's a little too much blade weight, a little too little handle weight, and it just creates kind of a weird experience. Which is unfortunate because Grant isn't really in the Balisong business anymore. Machine-wise time, but not all of them. The Sasori, their newest kind of line. The Sasori hasn't been released in a while, so I am kind of curious about the status of it, because the most recent ones they've released were New Year's, but those were like leftover scrap stock or something like that. Like stock that they found on a shelf that was like just good enough to put together into a Balisong. Flip's amazing, fan's amazing. Missing a little bit of handle weight. There's definitely a bit of weirdness to this here, and I definitely prefer the Totori of their new designs, but far more quality than I was expecting. I went to Blade Show upset about the Prisma Pro being discontinued, as a lot of people were, and I came home with a Sasori because there was something addicting about it. And still to this day, there is something addicting about it, which is why I haven't sold it. I mean, truth be told, I would definitely like to sell this and just put it into a Totori, because I enjoy the Totori so much more. But there's just something about it that doesn't allow me to get rid of it. Whether it's the feel in the hand, which is the best machine-wise it's done yet, the really addictive fans, the cool weight system. It's a cool Balisong. The Prisma V1, another Balisong that I have wanted to sell at certain occasions, replace it with something else, but just can't bring myself to, especially now that it's discontinued. This was one of the really early models, so it doesn't even have a chamfer on the blade spine, which is annoying because it it's pretty uncomfortable if you catch a chaplain or anything of the blade spine at the wrong angle. But it flips amazingly. The Prisma was historic. I remember being so excited for the Prisma because it was one of the first times that we had seen an American-made Balisong creator, Balisong maker, releasing at such a fast rate that kind of kept up with Squid. Squid at the time was like one of the only US-based Balisong makers that was doing weekly drops. Everyone else was kind of just dropping whenever the hell they were ready. And Machine-wise, shortly after Blade Show, switched to a weekly drop system for the Prisma. And it was so exciting. It was so exciting to see competition in that availability market. And now, I mean, we live in a time where even Squid, I don't think, does like weekly drops like they used to. Like they used to send out a newsletter. Here's all the stock that's coming out. They don't really do that anymore. I think they just kind of say, hey, here's what's coming out on Friday or whatever. And it's like some special edition or something, which is still cool. But it does kind of harken back to a different time in the Balisong hobby when, I mean, hey, we've kind of forgotten what it's like. Most people nowadays, when they want to buy a Balisong, they just buy a cheese off of Amazon or something like that. We've kind of, as a community, lost the ability to get in on a drop really easily. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen anymore, because it absolutely does. But, man, it's been so long since, like, the days of, hey, Glider's doing a dedicated drop on Saturday the 25th. I got to be there exactly at 10 a.m. or they're going to all sell out. But, yeah, Prisma, especially for the price that they made it for, it's a historically good Balisong. Sirius V2, probably my favorite version of the Sirius. This is Ty's version that I traded to him. It was kind of like a birthday trade. I gave him my Kraken trainer, V2.5, for his birthday, and he gave me his Sirius V2 for my birthday, so we kind of traded on that. Really solid Balisong. One of my perfect balances. Like, this is the closest I've ever felt to my perfect balance. Unfortunately, it lacks a little bit of momentum to be my perfect Balisong, but I've found that the balance of this thing is just extraordinarily good. Sticky chaplains and rollovers, and then dropping it on my mint Arctic handles. Sticky chaplains, sticky rollovers, but an extraordinarily fun fan and choker fan, especially this polished version, kind of tones down some of the sharper corners that the Sirius is known for, because it gives you more control. I mean, that was kind of what the Sirius used to be in the day. It was like, if you wanted comfort, you got a Kraken. If you wanted control and like a really fun balance, you got a Sirius. Yep. That's going to happen a lot. I should probably start putting these back sometime, but I want to lay them all out. I want to show you guys the progress that we've not made. Yeah, I love the Sirius, and LDY would continue to impress with the Orion. This is a dream Balisong of mine. It is a good flipping comb Balisong, which doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately, because they haven't released a comb blade for the new 1.5, which is really sad. I wish they would. I wish there was a good comb blade I could recommend to people, because I love the idea of having a comb in my pocket that I can flip, and that flips good, instead of those really, really, really crappy Amazon ones that are steel and uncomfortable and fall apart in 2 minutes. But the Orion, I mean, this thing was, you paid $100, I think, and you got a trainer blade, you got a live blade. It was awesome. It was really, really awesome. This thing made a splash when it first landed. I remember people comparing this thing to the Kraken. I remember doing a stream and saying, hey, is the Orion really that good? Is it really Kraken levels of good? And there were people who were saying that. It was a little difficult to comprehend even back then. I mean, nowadays I don't really see where the Kraken comparisons are coming from, but dude, it's a solid Balisong. And it would only get more solid with the Orion 1.5, one of the best bang for your buck Balisongs in this entire hobby. The live blade flips incredibly. They took out including the trainer blade and the live blade in one package so that they could reduce the price, and reduce the price they did. $75 nowadays will get you an extraordinarily good trainer, and $85 will get you an extraordinarily good live blade. I have the trainer right here. We'll talk about them similarly because there's no reason to really talk about them apart from this. Really good. One of, if not the best beginner Balisongs right now. One of the best budget Balisongs. $75 for this level of flipping performance is insane. Something that we've never seen before. And it really kind of started this year, because now we have things that compete with this, like the cheese, which is just incredible. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I keep dropping it right on the things that are going to get damaged the most from dropping it. But that's what I get for flipping over my collection. The new Baikal live blade. This is another Balisong that I will be talking about when I'm recording this in the future, but when this is uploaded, video might already be out. Really solid live blade. Not going to say too much else, except a beautiful transition from that really unique blade shape to this really unique live blade shape, especially with this dual tone. It looks incredible. I love it. And it flips just as good as it looks. That's what I'll spoil for now. The Thomas Default, kind of the edit and edit light of metal. A Balisong that doesn't exist anymore. You can't really buy it. But I think Thomas has teased, maybe I'm just hallucinating, but I feel like I remember him like posting on his story or something that like the successor to the Default was going to happen eventually. So we'll see. We'll see what comes of that. Solid Balisong, too chunky for me, but it kind of became one of like the big three, as I call them, for a while. The Cheese, the Orion, and the Default. Different Balisongs from different companies that you could get depending on your preferences for an extremely good price. And I mean, even loose and dry, sitting in my case, this thing sounds so good. It's awesome. Not my favorite thing in the world, like I said, because it's too chunky for me, but some people really like that. So a really solid beginner option. The Firefly V2, I love this thing so much. It's chunky, but it's fun. That's the beauty of BB Barfly designs, because they are incredibly unique. They're fun, they're chunky, they have a really unique balance. The V2 kind of makes it flip a little bit better, makes it a little less, you know, completely unique, and kind of puts it more towards a more conventional flipping Balisong. But still incredibly unique, still incredibly chunky, and I love it. There was a period of time where I would carry this thing around, and it was actually one of my favorite things to flip over concrete, only for like a week, but because I just didn't drop it. It just did what I wanted it to do, despite the fact that it was so chunky and weird. I love BB Barfly stuff. They're one of the most unique creators in the hobby. And a maker who really, really cares about his stuff. I mean, I remember when I think it was the Firefly V2, he revealed it. He was like, here's the changes. And everyone was like, oh, shoot, there should be jimping. There needs to be jimping. And he came back within the week and he put jimping on it. And that was just awesome to see. Here we are, the Barracuda V2, my favorite release from last year that I actually own. This is basically the Firefly V2, the BB Barfly formula, but in a standard Balisong package. It still has a little bit of that BB Barfly uniqueness, but this is definitely the best that BB Barfly has ever flipped, maybe except for the Superfly, which we'll talk about in a little bit. I love this thing. It's super solid. It's responsive. It's got the pivots that you can change the weight of. It carries enough momentum. It's not so chunky like a normal BB Barfly product, and it's got all of this grip all over, which makes it a little bit uncomfortable, but plenty of control, plenty of grip even as I drop it. Awesome Balisong. I love this thing so much. The LDY Frank, a truly goofy little guy. Holy cow. A live blade with the balance profile of a trainer, because it's got this kind of sharp area down here, but then it widens out into the tip, which means that this is one of the most tip-weighted trainers that you can get. If you want to know what tip weight feels like, you get a Frank. But if you also want to know what too much blade weight feels like, you get a Frank, because it has an extraordinary amount of blade weight, which can get a little bit dicey on fans, especially the way that I do them. But this would go on to spawn the Frank P, and is just kind of a fun little, unique little release for them. It's probably one of the only Balisongs that I actually think was good of LDY to release as kind of like a limited time release like this, because it's truly goofy, but not in a way where like, oh, everyone needs to buy this. It's a good little collector's item. I mean, obviously I would like to see them produce more of these for the people that want to get them, but you know, who knows? So that's that case. How many Balisongs is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49. There's almost 50 Balisongs in that case. Oh my god, that is insane. And we're not even done yet because we have this case over here. So this is this case serves many functions. I'm just going to put some things back while I talk so that I'm not dropping my most precious balisongs straight onto my other balisongs. But this case it's my specials valuables case. Initially it was my titanium case. Once I got this big case and it allowed me to store kind of everything in just one place, I put all of my unique balisongs in this case. The Will Hirsch case, made much better. The foam's much better. It's just a better overall package than this, which, as you can see, is basically falling apart at this point. But yeah, it's kind of turned more into, it's not really the titanium case anymore. It's kind of turned into the live blade / kind of like personally valuable balisongs. As well as also storing some of my more financially valuable balisongs. But this case is absolutely the highlight of my collection. Oh man, let's go least interesting to most interesting. The Sirius is in here kind of just because it's a really sharp live blade. I do like to keep most of my live blades in here. Not my favorite thing in the world. The Sirius, I definitely prefer the V2 that I have in my collection. This thing just kind of, it's a really good EDC. I don't really like how the Kukri flips. I've heard people say that the Tonto flips a lot better because the blade's heavier on the Tonto, so we'll have to see. Maybe I'll try one at Blade Show or something. Ultimately, while I think that the Sirius V4 is a great balisong, it's a great value, for me, personally, it was a little disappointing. For multiple reasons, but mostly just because of everything that I hadn't expected, especially like this surface texturing not being surface texturing, because it really looks like it should be. But yeah, it's a great balisong. It was just a little bit disappointing to me personally. What's the next least interesting thing in here? And least interesting, it's still the most interesting in my collection. Let's go with the Corvus. The Corvus I've talked about at length in the past. Not my favorite overall flipper, but it is addictive to fan. Every time I flip the Corvus, I basically only fan, choker fan, palm fan, backhand fan. All of it feels amazing. This is a limited time balisong that I really wish they would not make limited time, because I really think their lineup would benefit from people being able to buy either the Corvus or the Sirius V2. Great grip all around. Really cool design. I love the green that they did here. I do kind of wish I had that dual tone blade just to make it match all that much more. But I love the Corvus. And they even put, in both of these actually, they even put my name inside the channel, which is super cool. So I love that. I really do love when companies do that. Add that little personal touch for you. And I wish they would allow, anyone to do that. It'd be cool. Like, Squid does the engraving. I wish kind of LDY would do the same thing. Next up, the Astra, one of my favorite balisongs from last year. Just overall solid. I mean, I've talked about this thing fairly recently. I'm not going to talk your ear off about it again. It really surprised me. I had no expectations for it. It comes with one of the coolest cloths that I have ever seen, that I have displayed on my desk usually at all times, but I've kind of cleared it off recently just to clean things up a little bit. I will put it back eventually. But this thing is pretty solid, especially to be a collab with Serum Velocity. I think Thomas and Serum did a really great job on this thing, and the Astra is really, really fun. Also the only toxic anno in my collection, and the balisong that actually made me appreciate toxic annos. The Superfly. BB Barfly's best flipping product by far, if you ask me. The Barracuda, I know I just said by far, but the Barracuda does come close. The Barracuda flips extraordinarily well, but this thing is just on another level. It is the most normal that BB Barfly has ever felt, because it has very standard proportions. You can customize all of their blades. I will say the Barracuda blade with the Superfly is the only one that I actually super enjoy. I tried Ty's Superfly, and he had the Talon blade, and it just didn't flip as well because it's shorter. I think those blades are shorter, so there's less blade weight there. but I love the Superfly. The Superfly, I truly do believe at the current price that they're selling for, is one of the greatest deals that you can get in this hobby, period, bar none. And I really wish it won outstanding value in the Bally Awards. I was very proud to see as many people voted for it as it did, because value doesn't mean cheap. Value means you get a lot for your money. And the Superfly, you get a ton for your money. You get a little case, you get customizable weights, you get extra hardware, you get the BB Barfly extras like the keychains and the bottle opener keychain that they give you. The Superfly is incredible. The Kuno. The Kuno is awesome. Truly, truly a unique Balisong. All titanium pinsless from Remshi Designs. And this thing flips amazingly. Despite not having anything of a tip, it fans really well. It choker fans really well. It's a very light and floaty Balisong. Throw it in the air and it seems to kind of just hang there because of how light and long it is. Carries a lot of momentum, is just insanely fun to flip. And it kind of put Remshi on the map for me. When he sent it to me, I had no idea what to expect. I didn't like the swordfish, so I didn't expect to like this because, like on like construction was something that was very new at the time. But yeah, I love the Kuno. The Shino is great. All the stuff that Remshi's making is really, really super solid, and I like it a lot. So I'm very happy to have that in my collection. Maybe now that I got rid of the Nemesis, I need a new like custom anodized thing in my collection. Maybe the Kuno will be it. I've had a really sick idea. Considering that all of this blade is titanium, you can do some really cool things here. And I've had a really sick idea that I want to see if anyone would be capable of doing eventually. But we'll see. The Impusa. Getting the Impusa, Grant sent me an Impusa without me knowing, because I think he got my address from Ty or something. And I woke up, it was Christmas break, it was very late. I slept in very late that day. I woke up to a message from Grant that said, "Bro, check your mailbox." I was like, what the heck? And in it was one of the most beautiful Balisongs that I have ever, and honestly, up to this point, have ever seen. This thing, this incredible kukri-styled blade with this beautiful blue-purple blurple ano. I love the Impusa so much. It rings, it flips really well. I mean, it's not my favorite flipper in the world. It does have a few issues with things like Chaplin's, and the thin handles aren't my favorite thing, but this thing is incredible. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful to me. And unfortunately is the reason that I have this scar on my finger, my pinky finger, from when I threw this thing up for a scissor and it just landed the complete wrong way. But I do really miss Grant. This is a top 3 Balisong for me, I think, in terms of, if I had to rank my collection in terms of like collectibles, like what is just a Balisong that I truly appreciate, even if it isn't my favorite flipper or something like that. This is top 3, absolutely. Every time I look at it, I'm like, damn, what did I do to deserve Grant sending me this thing? Yeah, beautiful, beautiful art. It's art. It's Balisong art. My favorite trainer of all time, the ever wonderful Prisma Pro, a Balisong to this day I have not replaced. I have not found anything that replaces it. $180 gets you one of the best flipping Balisongs at that price point has ever and possibly will ever see. There is truly nothing that comes close to the Prisma Pro for me in today's market in terms of value, flipping performance, performance per dollar, etc. It does everything I want it to do. It has a unique balance. It looks great. It feels great. It's got that machine-wise finish to it. I love the Prisma Pro. I will never stop loving the Prisma Pro. Man, sad to see it go. I understand why it's gone. But man, I wish something would come out to kind of fill the void that this thing has left. It's also probably partially my fault that it won Lovely Legacy. So sorry, Dun Dun. The Sliff T, another Balisong that we miss dearly. This is a 1-of-1 test. It's got a bunch of crap on it because I used all my live blades as box openers, and a lot of tape gets on it, and I don't clean them. I'll clean it, trust me. But this is a one-of-one design. This was a test that they did. It's like scratched, lasered so that it's like gold and blue on the faces, but then it's got this beautiful teal to purple on the inside. The Sliff Tee, the fact that this was $400 is just insane to me. And you might think, oh, $400 is a lot. Yes, I agree with you, but you get so much knife for your money. You get a slightly adjustable balance. You get one of the most durable, well-made, mass manufactured. I guess the Sliff Tee was mass manufactured in the sense that there's a lot of them that exist. But it's just one of the most well-constructed knives that I have ever seen for that price. It just is incredible in the hands. It feels good. The tolerances are amazing. Even though I have beat this thing quite a bit, I have put this thing through its paces, it still looks incredible. It's part of the reason I got one that had the ano on the inside, so there was nothing to damage on the outside. But man, the Sliff Tee is one of those Balisongs that I'm like, should I sell it? I mean, maybe it's time to sell it and move on to something else. Dude, I don't think I could ever part with this thing. Even if it meant that I wouldn't get a Totori, this is just such a solid knife. You get so much knife for your money. Oh my gosh. The magnum opus of Machine-Wise, and my favorite Balisong, my favorite flipping Balisong in my entire collection. Probably my favorite Balisong in my collection, period. The Seraph. The Seraph, listen, I've made video after video after video gushing about the Seraph. And I know that some of the more, professional flippers out there, I'm sorry, I put that in air quotes because no one's really a professional flipper, but the more experienced, advanced flippers out there, I know they don't like the Seraph. I know there are people that say that the Seraph is bad or this and that. This is peak Balisong for me. It just is. It feels incredible. The fit and finish is insane. The balance is insane. The feel in the hand. Everything about this Balisong is almost, if not perfect. I have no complaints. And the fact that this was my birthday gift from the community is humbling, I just can't describe it. I mean, you can go back and watch the video where I unboxed it. You can hear every video that I've made since then talking about the Seraph. It was truly, truly the best Balisong that I got last year. The best Balisong that I'll get for a long time, I think. The Seraph, even when I don't flip, even when I just kind of put my Balisong collection away and I don't flip as much, the Seraph is usually on my desk, on display, something like that. It's incredible. Machine-Wise truly, truly made a incredible, timeless Balisong. This is a Balisong that I hope to induct to Lovely Legacy. If we're still doing the Bally Awards 10 years in the future, I hope this gets it, because I think this is going to be a generationally good Balisong. And I'm extremely happy they still make it. Out of everything that Machine-Wise discontinued, I am extremely happy they still make that. The prize jewel of my collection, the Damascus Kraken. Now, this is a Balisong. I'm not going to flip it too much. I do like to flip it, but I don't want to drop it on other metal Balisongs, so I'm going to keep the flip. Okay, well, we're going to keep the flipping to a minimum now. I shouldn't own this. I really, really shouldn't. I showed up to my first ever Blade show thinking, hey, I want to buy a Kraken when I get here. And they have those special edition Krakens. So, maybe I'll get one of those. Went straight over to the booth as soon as I got into Blade show, and they were sold out. The early birds got them all. And it was disappointing. Whatever. So I ended up buying a dual tone black and silver Kraken, which was awesome. I loved that thing. Until the end of the show, day 3, Sunday, right as they were cleaning up, they open a drawer and they find this in it. And I happened to be standing by the booth, and I heard, hey, does anyone want an extra Damascus Kraken? We found one. My hand shot up and I got it somehow. I had always wanted, a bucket list item for me in my collection was a Damascus knife. It didn't have to be a Balisong, but a Damascus knife, because I love the pattern. I love the way Damascus just looks. It looks incredible. Oh, it's so good. So to own one of what the community considers to be like one of the best Balisongs out there. Like the Kraken is such a heavily loved and praised Balisong. To own such a special, unique edition of it in Damascus of my favorite blade shape with these beautiful silver handles. This is a Balisong. Even if I sell off most of my collection, I stop flipping. This is the kind of thing that you keep in a display case. You pass it down to your kid if he's into knives or something like that. I love it. I truly love it. I can't comprehend how people bought these things just to resell them at higher prices. Yeah, I mean that's it. This thing is it's the peak. You remember how I said before, like the Impusa is like top 3 collectible Balisongs? This is top 1. This thing represents so much to me. It represents my first blade show. It represents me owning a Damascus Balisong. It's my Kraken. The luck that I had to get it. I used up all my luck, I think. I think getting this thing truly used up all the luck that I would have for like the next 2 or 3 years after that blade show. But it just represents such an incredible experience. I mean, I look at this thing and I think of, the first time I met Will and Brandon, who now have become very integral in my friend group. Like Brandon and I are such good friends, and I love those two guys so much. This represents the first time I met them. The first time I stepped into Will's office, which is very surreal for someone that you've been watching online for so long. Although I guess not for so long, because at that point I've been watching them for like over a year, which compared to some other people probably isn't that long. But yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible. And this collection is truly incredible. I'm so incredibly thankful to have the opportunity to check out all of these amazing Balisongs. Gosh, how do I want to do this? I don't even know how I want to do this. I'm so thankful to have the opportunity to check out all of these incredible Balisongs. The opportunity that you guys have given me by chilling in these videos each and every day. Not each and every day, but you know what I mean. It is truly something special. So thank you guys so much. This collection has changed quite a bit in the past few years. I mean, we're up to what, 50-something Balisongs? Almost 60 Balisongs, I think. Which is just nuts, insane, stupid, something like that. But I love it. This collection, I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud of everything it represents, everything that it is. Everything it means to me and to other people, to you guys maybe. I mean, hey, it's an iconic collection. I think there's a lot of iconic Balisongs contained within this layout. And I am just so happy. Wow, that is a truly insane, almost stupid amount of Balisongs. Oh my gosh. And there are... Yeah. And this has been a truly long and kind of stupid video. I don't even know the runtime of this. Maybe my camera isn't recording. God, that would be fun. Maybe it died a long time ago. God, that would be even more fun. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm looking forward to what the Balisong community has in store for 2025. We have so many cool videos coming, or, have already released at this point for you guys. And on that note, I'm going to go take a long break with a nice glass of water, because my brain is hurting after that one. Holy cow. See you all in the next one. Later.